Queen Nala sat on her throne of crystalline metal, her blue skin glowing faintly in the dim light of the royal chamber. She had ruled the Viridian Empire for 300 cycles, maintaining the purity and superiority of her people above all else. Her decisions had kept the empire strong, her laws had kept the bloodlines pure, and her wisdom had kept the humans at a safe distance across the neutral zone. The message crystal arrived without ceremony, carried by her most trusted courier. When she touched it, her daughter's voice filled her mind. Arya, her precious daughter who had disappeared 20 cycles ago during what should have been a simple diplomatic survey mission to the Outer Rim territories. Mother, I need you. Come alone. Bring no guards. What I must show you will change everything you believe about our people and the universe. Nala's hand trembled, an unusual display of emotion for a queen who prided herself on perfect control. The message contained coordinates to a place called New Jeju, a remote human colony world far from the centers of either civilization. The request made no sense. Why would Arya be on a human world? Why demand secrecy? What could possibly change a queen's understanding of 300 years of rule? For 20 cycles, Nala had searched for her daughter. She had sent scouts, investigators, and even elite tracking units across the known territories. Every lead turned cold. Every trace vanished. The official story claimed Arya's ship had suffered a catastrophic failure near an asteroid field. No bodies were recovered. Nala had held a royal funeral for an empty casket, her grief frozen behind the mask of royal duty. Now this message arrived, impossible and real at the same time. Nala dismissed her court with a wave of her hand. She told her advisors she needed meditation time in the royal sanctuary. The lie came easily after 3 centuries of political maneuvering. Within hours, she boarded her personal stealth cruiser, a small ship designed for covert operations that only the royal family knew existed. As she piloted through the darkness of space, Nala's mind churned with possibilities. Had Arya been captured by humans? Was this a trap? The humans were primitive by Viridian standards, still bound to their short lifespans and emotional instabilities. The two species had maintained a cold war for 200 years, neither side willing to strike first, both sides convinced of their own superiority. Viridian doctrine was clear and absolute. Humans were lesser beings. Their genetic structure was incompatible with Viridian biology. Mixing between species was scientifically impossible and morally repugnant. These truths had been proven by the Empire's greatest scientists and enforced by royal decree for generations. The journey took 3 days. Nala used the time to review everything she knew about human colonies. New Jeju was a farming settlement, established 60 years ago by human colonists seeking isolation from their own governmental systems. It was peaceful, agricultural, and utterly unremarkable. Intelligence reports listed a population of approximately 5,000 humans. No military installations. No research facilities, nothing that would interest a Viridian princess. When her ship entered the planet's atmosphere, Nala felt disgust rising in her throat. The architecture was primitive and wooden. The settlement sprawled without proper geometric planning. Humans walked the streets in simple clothing, their faces showing every emotion without control or dignity. Children ran through dirt paths, laughing and shouting. Everything was so chaotic, so unrefined. She landed her cruiser in a clearing outside the main settlement, using camouflage fields to hide it from detection. The coordinates led her to a small house on the settlement's edge, surrounded by cultivated fields and a modest garden. The dwelling was made of local timber with a sloped roof designed to shed rain. Smoke rose from a chimney. Vegetables grew in neat rows beside the structure. Nala approached slowly, every instinct screaming that something was wrong. Her daughter, a princess of the Viridian Empire living in a wooden human house? Impossible. She knocked on the door. Arya answered immediately as if she had been waiting. The princess looked different. Her formal royal robes were gone, replaced by simple human-style clothing. Her hair was tied back in a practical manner, rather than arranged in the elaborate styles of court. But her eyes remained the same, luminescent purple eyes that marked her as royalty. "Mother," Arya whispered, her voice breaking with emotion. "Explain this," Nala demanded, stepping inside before Arya could embrace her. The interior was warm and comfortable. Furniture built for human proportions filled the space. Strange decorations hung on the walls, primitive art that somehow felt welcoming rather than crude. "I will explain everything," Arya said, closing the door. But first, you need to understand that what I am about to show you contradicts everything we were taught. Everything we believed. I need you to promise that you will hear me completely before you react. I promise nothing, Nala said coldly. You disappeared for 20 cycles. I mourned you. The Empire mourned you, and you have been here on a human world, living in this primitive dwelling. What madness has taken you, daughter? Before Arya could answer, voices erupted from another room, children's voices high and excited. The door burst open and 3 small figures tumbled into the room, laughing and chasing each other in some kind of game. Then they saw Nala and froze. The queen's breath stopped in her chest. Her heart ceased beating for a full second. Her mind refused to process what her eyes clearly showed. 3 children stood before her, 2 girls and 1 boy, their ages appearing to range from perhaps 5 to 10 cycles in human years. They had viridian luminescent markings running down their arms and faces, glowing softly with the characteristic blue light of her people. But their skin held the warmth of human pigmentation. Their eyes were round and expressive like human eyes, but held the depth and color of viridian genetics. Their faces showed emotional expressions that no pure viridian child would display. Yet their bone structure carried the elegant lines of her bloodline. Hybrids. Impossible hybrids. Hello, grandmother, the oldest girl said in perfect viridian formal speech, though her accent carried human influences. Nala's legs gave out. She stumbled backward, catching herself on a chair. The room spun. 300 years of absolute certainty crumbled in an instant. This is impossible, she whispered. A man entered the room, clearly human, with dark hair and kind eyes. He moved to stand beside Arya, placing a protective hand on her shoulder. The gesture was unmistakable, intimate, familiar. Mother, Arya said softly, these are my children, Hana, Junho, and Minji. And this is their father, Taiyang. My husband. Queen Nala stiffened, her entire body locking into rigidity as her mind tried to reject the reality before her. These were her grandchildren. These impossible, beautiful, scientifically absurd children were her own blood, and their father was human. The silence in the room stretched like a blade drawn across glass. Nala stared at the human man, at her daughter, at the 3 impossible children who represented everything her civilization claimed could never exist. Her mind raced through centuries of scientific doctrine, religious teachings, and political philosophy, all of it shattering against the simple reality standing before her. Taeyang stepped forward slowly, his movements careful and non-threatening. He was tall for a human, with strong hands that showed the calluses of manual labor. His face held no fear, only a calm dignity that surprised the queen. Most humans showed nervousness in the presence of viridian royalty. This one met her eyes with quiet respect but no submission. Your Majesty, he said in surprisingly fluent viridian language, his accent thick but comprehensible. I understand this is shocking. Please sit. Let us talk. Do not presume to give me orders, human, Nala hissed, though her legs still trembled beneath her. The formal throne room voice came automatically, a shield against the chaos raging inside her mind. Little Minji, the youngest child who appeared to be about 5 human years old, walked forward without hesitation. Her small hand reached out and touched Nala's arm. The contact sent a jolt through the queen's body. The child's skin was warm, warmer than any viridian's, but the touch carried something else. A wave of calm spread from the contact point, easing the panic clawing at Nala's chest. You are scared, Minji said simply, her voice carrying both the musical quality of viridian speech and the emotional directness of human communication. It is okay to be scared. Father says being scared means you care about something important. The queen looked down at her granddaughter. The child's eyes were a striking mixture of both species, larger and more expressive than viridian eyes, but holding a depth of color that no human possessed, purple mixed with brown, creating something entirely new. Her face was open and trusting in a way that made Nala's heart ache. How? Nala whispered, the word escaping before she could stop it. The scientists said it was impossible. Genetically impossible. Viridian and human biology cannot combine. It has been proven. Arya moved to sit on the simple wooden couch, patting the space beside her. After a moment of hesitation, Nala sat, her royal bearing crumbling as maternal instinct warred with lifelong beliefs. The scientists were wrong, Arya said gently. Or rather, they never actually tried. They assumed impossibility based on theoretical models. But theory and reality do not always agree. Taeyang picked up Minji, who wrapped her small arms around his neck with easy affection. The other two children settled on the floor near their parents, watching their grandmother with curiosity rather than fear. Junho, the boy who appeared to be about 8, held a small carved wooden toy that he turned over in his hands with absent focus. 20 cycles ago, Arya began, my ship did suffer a catastrophic failure, not near an asteroid field as the official reports claimed, but in orbit around this world. A solar flare damaged our navigation systems during a routine survey. We crashed in the forest 20 kilometers from here. Nala listened, her training as queen demanding she gather information even as her emotions churned. Taeyang was part of a rescue team from the settlement. They found me in the wreckage. I was injured badly. My spine was fractured in 3 places. The medical pod in my ship was destroyed. By Viridian standards, I should have died within hours. But human medicine saved you? Nala asked, unable to keep the skepticism from her voice. Human determination saved me, Arya corrected. Taeyang was an engineer before he came to this colony. He studied Viridian biology from salvaged medical texts. He improvised a stabilization device using parts from my ship and human medical equipment. It should not have worked. The technologies were incompatible, but he made it work anyway. Taeyang shifted Minji to his other arm, his expression showing faint embarrassment at the praise. I had help from the colony's doctor, and Arya is stubborn. She refused to die. I spent 6 months recovering in their hospital, Arya continued. Taeyang visited every day, at first to monitor the medical equipment, then to teach me about human culture, then because we enjoyed talking. He was curious about Viridian philosophy. I was curious about human adaptability. We became friends. Hana, the oldest girl who looked about 10, spoke up. Her voice carried a maturity beyond her apparent years. Father says friendship is the beginning of all love. Nala felt something twist in her chest. The child spoke of love between species as if it were natural, simple, obvious. When I was healed enough to travel, Arya said quietly, I had a choice. Return to the Empire and report the crash. Resume my duties as princess. Follow the path laid out since birth. Or stay here, with the man who saved my life and showed me that everything I believed about humans was wrong. You chose to abandon your people, Nala said, the words coming out harder than she intended. I chose to build a bridge between peoples, Arya replied. Mother, in those 6 months I learned more about humanity than all our diplomatic reports taught in 200 years. They are not primitive. They are different. Their short lifespans make them value each moment more intensely. Their emotional openness creates stronger communities. Their adaptability lets them solve problems we would never consider. Junho held up his wooden toy, showing it to his grandmother. I made this, he said proudly. Father taught me carving. Mother taught me Viridian geometry. Together, they are better than separate. The toy was indeed remarkable. It was carved in the shape of a bird, but its wings held mathematical precision that spoke of Viridian spatial understanding. Yet the overall form showed artistic creativity that was purely human. It should not have worked together, but it did. We married in a human ceremony, Taeyang said, his voice steady. The colony accepted us. They kept our secret, knowing that both our governments would condemn us. When Arya became pregnant, we did not know what would happen. The medical text said it was impossible. But here we are, Hana said brightly, spreading her arms. Very possible. Nala looked at each grandchild in turn. Hana stood tall and confident, her posture showing hints of royal bearing mixed with human casualness. Hunyo had his father's thoughtful expression and his mother's elegant features. Minji radiated warmth and emotional intelligence that neither species possessed separately. What are you? Nala whispered, not meaning offense, but genuine confusion. We are us, Minji answered simply. We are Hana and Junho and Minji. We are your family. The Queen's carefully constructed worldview had taken 300 years to build. It took 3 minutes in a wooden house to collapse completely. She had come here expecting to rescue her daughter from captivity or madness. Instead, she found a family that should not exist but clearly did. A human son-in-law who spoke her language and showed more genuine respect than many of her own courtiers. 3 grandchildren who embodied the impossible. I need time, Nala said, her voice cracking. I need to think. Of course, Arya said, taking her mother's hand. Stay with us. See how we live. Meet your grandchildren. Then decide what you believe. Taeyang set Minji down and moved to the kitchen area. I will make tea. We have both Viridian crystal leaf and human ginger, or we can mix them. Mixed is better. As the human man began preparing beverages with casual domesticity, as her daughter smiled with genuine happiness, as three hybrid children watched their grandmother with hopeful eyes, Queen Nala felt the foundation of her entire existence shifting beneath her feet. Everything she knew was wrong. The question now was what she would do about it. The sun rose over New Jeju on the second day of Queen Nala's visit, painting the sky in colors that reminded her painfully of the royal gardens back home. She had barely slept, spending most of the night on the small bed in the guest room, staring at the wooden ceiling and trying to reconcile 300 years of certainty with the impossible reality in the next rooms. She heard movement in the house, children's voices soft and careful, trying not to wake their grandmother. The smell of cooking food drifted through the door, something that mixed Viridian spices with human preparation methods. Everything in this house was mixed, blended, combined. Everything challenged the doctrine of separation that formed the foundation of her empire. Nala dressed in the simple clothing Arya had provided. Her royal robes remained folded in her travel case, too formal and out of place in this humble dwelling. Looking at herself in the small mirror, she barely recognized the woman staring back. Without the elaborate styling and ceremonial garments, she looked almost ordinary. When she emerged from the guest room, she found the family already gathered around a simple wooden table. Taeyang was serving breakfast while Arya helped Minji cut her food. Hana and Junho were discussing something in rapid mixed language, switching between Viridian and human speech with fluid ease. "Good morning, grandmother," Hana said formally when she noticed Nala. The girl stood and performed a perfect Viridian royal greeting, her posture and hand positions exactly correct. "Your mother taught you protocol," Nala observed, taking a seat at the table. "Mother teaches us many things," Hana replied. "Father teaches us different things. Together we learn everything." Breakfast was strange but not unpleasant. The food combined ingredients from both cultures, creating flavors that Nala had never experienced. Taeyang served her with quiet courtesy, anticipating her needs without being intrusive. He was, she noticed with some surprise, a gracious host. After the meal, Arya suggested showing Nala the children's abilities. "You need to understand what they can do," she said. "They are not simply Viridian or human. They are something more." They moved to the garden behind the house, a space carefully maintained with both Viridian crystalline plants and human vegetables growing side by side. The morning was cool and pleasant, with a gentle breeze carrying the scent of growing things. "Hana, show your grandmother," Arya said gently. The 10-year-old girl stepped forward into the open area of the garden. She closed her eyes, her breathing becoming slow and measured. The luminescent markings on her arms began to glow brighter, pulsing with soft blue light. She extended her hands toward a pile of stones Taeyang had collected for garden borders. The stones began to rise. Nala had seen telekinesis before. Many Viridian children developed the ability around age 15, after years of training. They could move small objects with great concentration. Adult masters could manipulate objects weighing several kilograms with intense focus. Hana lifted 40 stones simultaneously. They orbited her body in complex geometric patterns, moving faster and more precisely than any Viridian telekinetic Nala had ever witnessed. The girl's face showed concentration but not strain. She was controlling more mass with greater precision than most Viridian adults could manage. "Pure Viridian children cannot do this until much older," Arya said quietly. "And even then, not with this level of control. The human genetic component seems to enhance the telekinetic potential rather than diminish it." Hana gently lowered the stones, arranging them in a perfect decorative pattern without touching them. She opened her eyes and smiled. "Father says human creativity helps me think of new patterns. Mother says Viridian discipline helps me control them. Together I can do more." Next, Junho stepped forward. He carried a broken piece of equipment, something mechanical that Nala did not recognize. He set it on a work table Taeyang had set up in the garden. "This is a water pump from the settlement," Taeyang explained. "It failed 3 days ago. The colony's best engineers could not determine the problem. The design is complex, combining human hydraulics with Viridian power systems salvaged from trade goods." Junho studied the device for perhaps 30 seconds, his young face serious and focused. His eyes moved over the components with systematic precision that spoke of Viridian analytical thinking. Then his expression shifted, becoming more intuitive, more creative. "The problem is here," he said, pointing to a junction where two different systems connected. "The Viridian energy flow is too fast for the human pressure valves. They designed it assuming both systems work the same speed, but they do not. I need to add a buffer." The boy began working with tools that seemed too large for his small hands, but he wielded them with confidence, taking apart the junction and modifying it using spare parts from a collection box. His movements combined Viridian precision with human improvisation. He hummed while he worked, a human habit that would be considered undignified in Viridian society. After 15 minutes, he reassembled the pump and activated it. Water began flowing smoothly, the two incompatible systems now working in harmony through his modifications. "The colony's best engineers are adults with decades of experience," Arya said. Junho is 8 years old. His mind processes problems using both Viridian systematic analysis and human intuitive creativity. He sees solutions that pure members of either species miss. Taeyang touched his son's shoulder with obvious pride. "He will be a better engineer than I ever was." Finally, little Minji approached her grandmother. The 5-year-old looked up at Nala with those strange, beautiful mixed eyes. "I can feel what you feel," Minji said simply. "You are scared and confused and angry and sad all at the same time. It hurts inside you." Before Nala could respond, Minji placed both small hands on the queen's arm. Warmth spread from the contact, but it was more than physical heat. The churning chaos of emotion inside Nala's chest began to settle, not disappearing but organizing itself into manageable pieces. The panic that had clawed at her thoughts since arriving eased. She could still feel everything, but it no longer overwhelmed her. "Viridian empathic abilities are rare," Arya explained softly. "Perhaps 1 in 10,000 of our people develop them, and even then they can only sense emotions, not influence them. Human emotional intelligence is strong but not psychic. Minji combines both. She can feel what others feel, and help them process those feelings. Neither species can do this alone." Minji released her grandmother's arm and smiled. "You feel better now." Still confused, but better. The child was right. Nala did feel better, more capable of thinking clearly through the implications of what she was witnessing. "How many others?" Nala asked, her voice barely a whisper. "How many other families like yours exist?" Taeyang and Arya exchanged glances. The human man nodded slightly, giving permission. "Many," Arya said. "We are not alone, Mother. Across the Outer Rim territories on border worlds where both species interact away from government oversight, there are families like ours, dozens that we know of, perhaps hundreds that remain even more hidden. All producing children like this?" Nala asked, gesturing to her 3 remarkable grandchildren. "All producing children with abilities that exceed either parent species," Taeyang confirmed. "I have been documenting the phenomenon, collecting data from other families, tracking the children's development, analyzing the genetic combinations." He went into the house and returned with a data tablet. "I am not a geneticist, but the pattern is clear. Hybrid children are not just possible. They are superior in measurable ways. Enhanced abilities, better health, stronger immune systems, greater cognitive flexibility." Nala took the tablet, scrolling through years of carefully compiled research. Charts, graphs, medical data, ability assessments, all of it pointed to the same impossible conclusion. The mixing of human and Viridian genetics did not create weakness. It created strength. "This contradicts everything," she said, though it was not really an argument anymore, just a statement of fact. "Yes," Arya said. "Everything we were taught about genetic purity, about the necessity of separation, about human inferiority. All of it is wrong. The evidence is here, living and breathing and doing impossible things." Nala watched Hana and Junho playing with Minji, using a combination of telekinesis and physical movement in a game that neither species would have invented alone. She thought of the 3 centuries she had spent enforcing purity laws, preventing contact between species, maintaining the doctrine that kept her people isolated and supposedly superior. "If this information becomes public," Nala said slowly, "it will destroy the foundations of both our societies." "Yes," Taeyang agreed, his voice grave. "Which is why these families live in secret. Which is why we did not contact you until now. The truth is dangerous, then why tell me now?" the Queen asked. Arya took her mother's hand. Because the secret is about to break open. And when it does, we need someone with power and influence to stand with us. We need you, Mother. Not as a queen, but as a grandmother. On the third day, Taeyang took Nala to his workshop, a small building behind the main house where he kept his research and communication equipment. The space was organized with human practicality and decorated with Viridian geometric precision. Screens lined one wall showing data streams and encrypted communication channels. What I'm about to show you is dangerous knowledge, Taeyang said, activating the primary display. If your government discovers this network exists, they will hunt down every family connected to it. If my government learns of it, they will do the same. We are criminals on both sides of the neutral zone. The screen filled with names, locations, and family profiles. Dozens of entries, each representing a mixed family, hiding somewhere in the vast space between human and Viridian territories. Each entry included children's names, ages, and documented abilities. The Kang family on Station Horizon 7, Taeyang said, pointing to one entry. Their daughter Nari is 12. She has developed a form of photosynthesis that works with any light spectrum. She can survive in environments that would starve a pure human and are too dark for Viridian energy absorption. She represents adaptation neither species achieved. He scrolled to another entry. The Park family on New Busan Colony. Twin boys Minho and Kyung, both showing mathematical abilities that have solved theoretical problems both species struggled with for generations. Last month, they proved a theorem about faster-than-light navigation that could revolutionize space travel. Entry after entry appeared on the screen. A girl who could process both Viridian and human languages simultaneously, translating in real time with perfect accuracy. A boy whose immune system could neutralize toxins deadly to both parent species. Children who showed artistic abilities that created entirely new aesthetic categories, combining the logical beauty of Viridian art with the emotional expression of human creativity. Each family keeps careful records, Taeyang explained. We share information through encrypted channels, helping each other understand what our children can do. Many parents are scared. Their children develop abilities they cannot fully comprehend. But together we learn. A communication alert chimed. Taeyang accepted the call, and a woman's face appeared on the screen. She was clearly human, perhaps in her 40s, with tired eyes and worried expression. Taeyang, we have a situation, she said without preamble. Then she noticed Nala and froze. Is that a Viridian? A royal by the markings. This is Queen Nala, Taeyang said calmly. Arya's mother. She is learning about us. You can speak freely, Daesum. The woman named Daesum looked uncertain but nodded. Then she needs to know this immediately. Both governments have discovered evidence of the hybrids. I work in human colonial intelligence, low-level access, but I see the reports. 3 weeks ago, a surveillance team documented a hybrid child on Meridian Station using abilities no pure human possesses. The footage reached military command. Nala felt her blood chill. The Viridian government has similar evidence? Yes, Daesum confirmed. My contacts in the border regions report increased Viridian military activity. They are investigating reports of genetic contamination. Both sides have been looking for proof of interspecies breeding. Now they have it. What are they planning? Arya asked, entering the workshop with clear worry on her face. A joint operation, Daesum said grimly. For the first time in 200 years of Cold War, humans and Viridians are cooperating. They plan to eliminate what they call genetic contamination. They are calling it a quarantine operation. But the orders I saw were clear. No survivors, no witnesses. Complete elimination of hybrid populations. The room fell silent except for the hum of equipment. Nala felt the weight of centuries pressing down on her. She was queen. She represented everything those orders stood for. Genetic purity, species separation. The doctrine that made such horror seem justified. When? Taeyang asked, his voice steady despite the fear Nala could see in his eyes. The operation launches in 6 days, Daesum said. They are mobilizing forces now. The first target will be Meridian Station where the footage was captured. Then they will work through suspected hybrid locations systematically. This settlement is on their list. You have perhaps 8 days before forces arrive here. We need to evacuate the families, Arya said immediately. Get everyone to deep space, scatter them across uncharted systems. No, Taeyang said firmly. We have been running and hiding for years. Scattering will not save us. They will hunt us down eventually. The universe is not infinite and they have resources we cannot match. Then what do you suggest? Nala asked, finding her voice. Allow them to kill these children? I suggest we stop hiding, Taeyang replied. I suggest we show the galaxy what these children really are. Not contamination, not abomination, but the future both species need. Hana appeared in the doorway, having apparently been listening. Father is right. Running did not work before. We need to make them understand. You cannot make them understand through force, Nala said. Both militaries combined could eliminate every hybrid family in the galaxy. We do not need force, Junho said, appearing beside his sister. We need truth. We need to show them what we can do. Minji squeezed past her siblings, moving to stand beside Nala. The small child took the queen's hand, her touch bringing that strange, calming warmth. Grandmother has power. Grandmother can help make them see. Nala looked down at her youngest grandchild, at the trust and hope in those unique eyes. She thought of her throne, her authority, her 3 centuries of rule, all of it built on the foundation that these children were impossible, all of it requiring her to support their elimination. If I stand with you, Nala said slowly, I lose everything. My throne, my authority, my place in Viridian society. I become a traitor to everything I have built. Yes, Arya said softly. I asked you to choose between being a queen and being a grandmother. This is that choice, Mother. Taeyang pulled up another data stream on his screens. We have 6 days to prepare. I can broadcast our research to every major media network in both territories simultaneously. Show them the data, the abilities, the proof that hybrid children are not threats but assets. Public opinion might shift before the military operations complete. The hardliners will not care about data, Nala said. They will see only contamination. Then we show them more than data, Hana said. We show them us. Real children with real abilities helping real people. Not theories, reality. A demonstration, Junho added. Something they cannot ignore or explain away. Desam's face on the screen showed grim approval. The joint military forces will arrive here first, since this settlement has the most confirmed hybrid families. 8 adults, 14 children, all living in this colony. If you're going to make a stand, this is where you do it. A stand against 2 militaries? Nala asked. That is suicide, not demonstration. Not fighting them, Taeyang clarified. Showing them. Showing the whole galaxy, watching through every camera, every broadcast, every network. Make it impossible for them to justify killing children who just saved lives or solved unsolvable problems. And if it does not work? Arya asked, voicing the fear everyone felt. Then we tried, Taeyang said simply. We tried to build something better than fear and separation. That is more than anyone else has done. Nala looked at each person in the room, her daughter, who had given up everything for love and truth. The human man who had brought them together. 3 grandchildren who embodied impossible hope. A human intelligence officer risking her career and life to warn them. She thought of her throne, cold crystalline metal, beautiful and lifeless. She thought of her palace, vast and empty except for courtiers speaking careful words. She thought of 300 years enforcing laws that now seemed designed only to prevent exactly this kind of growth and possibility. I will stand with you, Nala said, her voice carrying the firm decision of a queen. Not because you convince me with words or data, but because my grandchildren exist. Because they are beautiful and brilliant and represent everything both our species could become if we stopped being afraid. Minji hugged her grandmother's leg, small arms squeezing tight. Thank you, grandmother. Do not thank me yet, Nala said, looking at the tactical displays showing approaching military forces. We have 6 days to change the minds of 2 civilizations or die trying. Those are not favorable odds. Humans specialize in unfavorable odds, Taeyang said with a slight smile. It is one of our best qualities. Then let us hope that quality is genetic, Nala replied. Because we will need every advantage these children possess. The planning began immediately. They had 6 days to prepare a demonstration that would either save the hybrid families or doom them all. 6 days to challenge 200 years of hatred and separation. 6 days to prove that the impossible children were not humanity's threat, or the Viridian Empire's shame, but the galaxy's hope. 4 days remained when the first official contact arrived. Nala sat in Arya's modest kitchen, reviewing plans with Taeyang and the other hybrid families who had gathered in the settlement, when her personal communication crystal began pulsing with urgent priority codes. Only her most trusted advisor could activate those codes, only for matters of empire-threatening importance. She stepped outside into the cool evening air and activated the crystal. The holographic image of Counselor Vex materialized before her, his ancient features showing concern and confusion. "My queen, where are you? Your absence has been noticed. The High Council demands answers." "I am attending to personal matters," Nala said carefully. "Matters that require discretion." "Discretion?" Vex's voice sharpened. "The entire council knows you departed in your stealth cruiser. They know you went to the outer territories. They know, Your Majesty, that you are on a human colony world, the same world where your daughter was last traced before her disappearance." Nala felt her composure cracking. Of course they had tracked her. Of course the council had its own surveillance systems. She had been foolish to think she could simply vanish without consequence. "I found Arya," Nala said simply. "She is alive." Vex's expression shifted from concern to relief, then quickly to confusion again. "Then bring her home. The Empire has mourned the princess for 20 cycles. Her return would be celebrated. Why do you remain on that primitive world?" "Because the situation is complicated," Nala said, choosing her words with the care of 3 centuries of political maneuvering. "Arya has information that challenges our understanding of genetic science. I need more time to evaluate its implications." "What information could require a queen to personally remain on a human colony?" Vex demanded. "Your Majesty, the High Council has given me authority to deliver an ultimatum. You have been gone for 5 days. You have neglected urgent state matters. You must return immediately or face questions about your fitness to rule." Before Nala could respond, Vex's expression changed to something darker. "There is more. The Council has received intelligence about genetic contamination in the outer territories. Hybrid abominations created by interspecies breeding. The Council has joined with human military command to eliminate this contamination. The operation begins in 2 days. 2 days? Nala said sharply. We were told 6 days. The slip was catastrophic. Vex's eyes widened with understanding and horror. "We?" he whispered. "My queen, what have you found on that world?" Nala made a decision. Trust or deception, support or opposition. She chose truth. "I have found my grandchildren, Vex. 3 hybrid children born to my daughter and a human man. They are real. They are healthy. They are extraordinary. And your elimination operation will murder them along with dozens of other innocent children whose only crime is existing." The silence stretched across the distance between worlds. Vex's holographic face cycled through shock, disbelief, and something that looked like grief. "This cannot be," he finally said. "The science proves it is impossible. The science is wrong. The children are here. I have watched them, tested them, evaluated them. They possess abilities that exceed both parent species. Hybrid genetics do not create weakness. They create enhancement." "Then you have been contaminated as well," Vex said, his voice turning cold. "Exposure to human influence has corrupted your judgment. The High Council will not accept this. They will never accept this." "Then the High Council chooses ignorance over truth," Nala replied. "I am sending you data. Research compiled over years by multiple families. Genetic analyses, ability assessments, medical records. Look at it, Vex. Look at the evidence before you condemn children to death." "I cannot present this to the Council," Vex said, though his voice wavered slightly. "They have made their decision. The operation has full Council support. Both species agree that hybrid contamination threatens the genetic purity necessary for survival." "Survival?" Nala's voice rose despite her training. "These children represent enhanced survival. They are stronger, smarter, more adaptable than either parent species alone. We are destroying our own evolutionary advantage because of unfounded fear." "You must return," Vex said, regaining his formal tone. "Bring Princess Arya. The High Council will show mercy if you denounce this contamination and return to proper service. The human and his offspring must be eliminated, but you and the princess can be saved." "Eliminated," Nala repeated, the word tasting like poison. "You speak of murdering my grandchildren as if it were administrative policy." "They are not your grandchildren," Vex said firmly. "They are genetic mistakes that threaten everything our civilization has built. I do not expect you to see clearly. You have been exposed to human emotional manipulation. That is why I am authorized to deliver the full ultimatum." His image shifted, replaced by an official document bearing the High Council seal. Nala read it with growing horror. "Queen Nala of the Viridian Empire, you are hereby ordered to return to the capital within 48 hours. You will bring Princess Arya for re-education and genetic purification. You will execute or arrange for the execution of all hybrid offspring and their human parent. Failure to comply will result in your removal from the throne and designation as a traitor to the Empire. Military forces are en route to enforce this order if necessary. The document faded. Vex's face returned, and for a moment Nala saw genuine sadness in her old advisor's eyes. I have served you for 2 centuries, my queen. I do not wish to see you fall. Please return. Denounce this madness. Preserve your throne and your legacy. The hybrids are already doomed. Do not doom yourself alongside them. If I must choose between my throne and my grandchildren, Nala said quietly, I choose my grandchildren. Tell the High Council I refuse their ultimatum. Tell them their queen stands with the hybrid families. Tell them they will have to remove me by force. Then you choose treason, Vex said, his voice heavy with finality. I am sorry, Your Majesty. I am truly sorry. The connection terminated. Nala stood in the evening darkness, feeling the weight of 300 years of rule dissolving like morning frost. She had just declared herself an enemy of her own empire. She had just abandoned everything she had built across centuries. She walked back inside to find the gathered families watching her with worried expressions. They had heard her raised voice even if they could not understand the Viridian words. The timeline has moved up, Nala said, switching to human speech for everyone's benefit. Both military forces arrive in 2 days, not 6. And I have been declared a traitor to my empire. Arya moved to her mother's side, taking her hand. I am sorry, Mother. I have cost you your throne. No, Nala said firmly. I chose this. I chose truth over tradition. I chose family over fear. But now we have even less time to prepare. Taeyang was already working on his communication equipment. We move up the demonstration timeline. Tomorrow we broadcast everything. Give the public 1 day to process the information before the militaries arrive. 1 day will not be enough to change 2 civilizations, Nala said. Perhaps not, Taeyang agreed, but it is enough to make them question. Enough to make some people hesitate. Enough to ensure that whatever happens here is witnessed by the entire galaxy. A new alert sounded, this time on the human communication channels. Commander Bora's face appeared on the screen, her human military uniform crisp and her expression professional. Attention, New Jeju settlement. This is Commander Bora of the Human Colonial Fleet. You are hereby ordered to surrender all hybrid individuals for quarantine processing. Resistance will be met with military force. You have 48 hours to comply. The message repeated on all channels, cold and official. The human military was being equally brutal in their approach. Quarantine processing, one of the other human fathers said bitterly. They cannot even say execution directly. His hybrid daughter, a girl named Sumi who was 14, touched his arm gently. They are afraid, Father. Afraid people act badly. We need to show them they do not need to be afraid. How do we show military forces anything except surrender or resistance? Another parent asked. We show them what we can do, Hana said, stepping forward with confidence beyond her 10 years. We show them hybrid children helping people, solving problems, saving lives. We make it impossible for them to justify killing us. Junho nodded agreement. We have 1 day to prepare the demonstration. We use that time to document everything we can do, every ability, every talent, every way hybrid genetics makes us useful instead of dangerous. And then? Nala asked, looking at her grandchildren. Then we stand in front of the cameras when both militaries arrive, Minji said simply. We show them us. Real children, not theories. We make them see. Taeyang looked at his children, at the other hybrid families gathered in his home, at the queen who had given up everything to stand with them. His expression was determined. We have 48 hours, he said. We spend tomorrow documenting and broadcasting. We spend the next day preparing for the arrival. And when they come, we do not fight. We demonstrate. We show them what fear is making them destroy. They might kill us anyway, Arya said quietly. They might, Taeyang agreed. But at least the galaxy will know why. At least the truth will be recorded. At least some people will question whether this was justice or murder. Nala looked at her family, at the other families trusting their children's lives to this desperate plea. The broadcast began at dawn. Every major communication network across both human and Viridian space suddenly received the same transmission, uploaded simultaneously through hundreds of hidden channels that Taeyang and other hybrid families had prepared for years. The content was impossible to ignore and impossible to suppress quickly enough. The video opened with Taeyang speaking calmly to the camera, his workshop visible behind him. "My name is Taeyang. I am a human engineer living on New Jeju Colony. 20 cycles ago, I helped save the life of a Viridian princess. We fell in love. We married. We have 3 children. Everything you were told about genetic incompatibility is wrong. This is our proof." The screen split, showing hybrid families from across the outer territories, parents of both species standing with children who embodied the impossible. Each family introduced themselves simply, honestly showing their children's faces to the galaxy. Then the demonstrations began. Hana lifting massive objects with telekinetic precision that made Viridian experts stare in disbelief. Shunhyo solving engineering problems that had stumped both species for decades. Minji calming a distressed child from another family with empathic abilities no pure member of either species possessed. Child after child, ability after ability, each one exceeding what either parent species could do alone. The scientific data followed, compiled over years and presented with clear methodology. Genetic charts showing how hybrid DNA did not create weakness but optimization. Medical records proving hybrid children had stronger immune systems, better healing rates, and enhanced cognitive function. Mathematical proofs solved by hybrid minds combining the systematic thinking of Viridians with the creative intuition of humans. Then Queen Nala appeared on screen. Still wearing simple colonial clothing, her royal bearing unmistakable even without formal robes or crown. "I am Queen Nala of the Viridian Empire. I have ruled for 300 cycles enforcing the doctrine of genetic purity and species separation. I was wrong. These children are my grandchildren. They represent not contamination but evolution. Both our governments plan to execute them within hours. I stand here to say that if they are criminals, then I am a criminal with them. If they deserve death, then execute me first." The broadcast ended with a simple message scrolling across the screen in both languages. In 12 hours, military forces from both species will arrive at New Jeju to eliminate all hybrid families. We will not fight. We will not hide. We will stand before them and show them what they plan to destroy. The entire galaxy will watch. Then you can decide if this is justice or murder. The reaction was immediate and explosive. Within minutes, the broadcast had been shared across billions of devices. Human networks erupted with debate. Viridian communication channels overflowed with shocked responses. Some called it propaganda. Others called it revelation. But no one could ignore it. On New Jeju, the families prepared for what was coming. Taeyang set up multiple camera drones, ensuring that everything would be documented and transmitted live. Arya organized the children, keeping them calm despite their fear. Other parents prepared statements, documented their children's abilities one more time, and tried not to think about the military forces approaching from both directions. Nala stood on a small hill overlooking the settlement, watching the sky. Beside her, Minji held her hand, the small child's empathic abilities helping manage the fear that threatened to overwhelm everyone. "Are they coming to kill us, grandmother?" Minji asked simply. "They are coming to try," Nala replied honestly. "But we are going to show them why they should not." The first ships appeared as the sun reached its peak. Human military vessels, sleek and weapon-laden, descending through the atmosphere with military precision. From the other direction, Viridian warships emerged, their crystalline hulls reflecting sunlight in patterns designed to intimidate. Both forces landed in the fields surrounding the settlement, establishing perimeters with soldiers taking positions. The residents of New Jeju watched nervously from their homes. Human colonists caught in the middle of something far larger than their simple farming community. Commander Bora emerged from the lead human vessel, her soldiers forming up behind her. From the Viridian ships came an enforcement squad led by a captain whose armor bore the marks of the High Council. Both military forces spotted each other and hesitated, clearly uncomfortable with this unprecedented cooperation. Taeyang walked forward to meet them, alone and unarmed. His camera drones followed, broadcasting everything across the galaxy. Millions watched as a simple human farmer approached 2 military forces prepared to kill his children. "Welcome to New Jeju," Taeyang said calmly. "Before you execute us, we would like to show you what you are destroying." "Stand aside," Commander Bora ordered, her weapon ready. We have legal authority for quarantine and elimination of genetic contamination. Contamination? Taeyang gestured back toward the settlement. Those are children. Our children. They are not diseases. They are people. The Viridian captain activated his weapon as well. You have violated the most fundamental laws of both our species. The punishment is clear. Then punish us, Arya said, walking forward to stand beside her husband. But first, watch what they can do. She nodded to Hana, who stepped forward despite her obvious fear. The girl raised her hands and the telekinetic display began. But this time she was not moving simple stones. This time she lifted 3 damaged atmospheric processors that the settlement had been unable to repair. Equipment that pure Viridian telekinetics had declared too heavy, too complex, too delicate to manipulate. Hana disassembled them in mid-air, identified the failed components with perfect precision, and used salvaged parts from a supply depot to repair all 3 simultaneously. The processors hummed back to life, their repair documented by multiple angles of camera coverage. These processors supply breathable air to underground habitats across this colony, Taeyang explained to the cameras and the military forces. They have been broken for 2 months. My daughter, who is 10 years old, just repaired them in 5 minutes. Pure Viridian telekinetics said it was impossible. She did it anyway. Junho approached next, carrying his tablet. The human fleet has a power distribution problem. I saw it in your ship's energy signature when you landed. The port coupling is degrading. It will fail within 3 days, leaving your vessel unable to achieve orbit. I can fix it if you allow me aboard. Commander Bora stared at the small boy. Our engineers detected no such problem. Your engineers are not hybrid, Junho said simply. I see patterns they miss. Let me help. I do not want you to be stranded here. The Viridian captain's weapon remained raised. Do not be deceived by these displays. They may have abilities, but they remain contamination of pure bloodlines. Contamination? Nala's voice rang out as she walked down from the hill, her royal bearing impossible to mistake. Captain, I am your queen. I have examined these children personally. They are superior to pure members of either species. You plan to execute genetic advancement because it challenges your prejudice. The captain faltered, clearly shocked to see his queen among the hybrids. Your Majesty, you are not well. The human influence has corrupted your judgment. The High Council has ordered your removal and re-education. The High Council is afraid, Nala said clearly, speaking to the cameras as much as the captain. Afraid that these children prove everything we believed was wrong. Afraid that genetic purity is not strength but limitation. Afraid that the future belongs to those willing to grow and change. Minji walked forward then, the youngest and most vulnerable, approaching Commander Bora directly. The human soldiers tensed, weapons tracking the small child. You are afraid, Minji said, looking up at the commander with those unique mixed eyes. You are afraid that if we exist, then everything you fought for is wrong. You are afraid that killing us will make you a monster. You are afraid that not killing us will make you a traitor. She reached out and touched Commander Bora's armored leg. The empathic pulse was visible to everyone, a faint shimmer in the air as Minji's ability worked. You do not have to be afraid, Minji said gently. We are just children. We did not ask to be born different. We just want to live and learn and help people. Is that worth killing us for? Commander Bora's weapon lowered slightly. Her face showed confusion, conflict, the careful military mask cracking. Then the moment shattered. From behind the Viridian lines, a soldier fired. The shot was aimed at Minji, intended to eliminate the target while she was exposed and vulnerable. Hana's telekinetic shield activated instantly, the energy bolt splashing harmlessly against invisible force. But the message was clear. The hardliners were not here to watch demonstrations. They were here to execute orders. The settlement erupted into chaos. Human soldiers moved to defensive positions, uncertain whether to fire on their Viridian counterparts who were supposed to be allies in this operation. Viridian forces split between those following orders and those hesitating after watching the demonstrations. Taeyang grabbed his children, pulling them back toward the settlement. Other hybrid families ran for cover. The careful demonstration was collapsing into potential massacre. Then Commander Bora made a choice. She stepped between her soldier. The standoff lasted 3 days. Military forces from both sides remained deployed around New Jeju, their commanders receiving conflicting orders as governments struggled to respond to the public reaction. The broadcast had been seen by billions. The images of Minji facing down soldiers, of Hana demonstrating impossible abilities, of Queen Nala renouncing her throne for her grandchildren. Those images spread faster than any propaganda could suppress them. On human worlds, protests erupted in major cities. People gathered holding signs with hybrid children's faces, demanding recognition of their rights. Scientists published papers supporting Taeyang's research, confirming that hybrid genetics showed enhanced characteristics rather than weakness. Artists created works celebrating the children. Musicians wrote songs about unity, and ordinary citizens began questioning 2 centuries of enforced separation. In Viridian space, the reaction was more complex. The culture valued order and tradition, making public dissent rare and dangerous. But even there, cracks appeared. Young Viridians used underground communication networks to share the broadcast. Scientists quietly approached the High Council with requests to study the hybrid phenomenon, rather than eliminate it. Some military units refused orders to participate in further elimination operations. Commander Bora was arrested and charged with treason, but her trial became a public spectacle. Millions watched as she defended her decision to refuse orders she considered morally wrong. Her simple statement resonated across human space. I joined the military to protect humanity, not to murder children who might be humanity's greatest achievement. The Viridian captain who ordered the shot at Minji was also arrested, but by his own government for acting without proper authorization. The High Council found itself in an impossible position, trying to maintain doctrines of purity while facing evidence those doctrines were scientifically wrong and morally indefensible. On New Jeju, life continued in strange limbo. The military forces maintained their positions but did not advance. The hybrid families remained in the settlement, protected by human colonists who had chosen sides despite the risks. Camera drones still broadcast everything, making any violence visible to the watching galaxy. Nala spent her days working with Taeyang and other researchers, compiling more data about hybrid abilities and development. Without her throne, she found purpose in advocacy. Without the burden of ruling, she discovered the joy of simply being a grandmother who could play with her grandchildren and teach them about their Viridian heritage without the weight of royal protocol. Do you regret it? Arya asked one evening as they watched the children playing in the garden. Losing everything you built for 3 centuries? I lost a throne, Nala replied. I gained a family. The throne was cold metal. The family is warm life. Which do you think matters more? The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A group of hybrid teenagers from various hidden families across the outer territories organized themselves without adult supervision. They used the communication networks Taeyang had established to coordinate a galaxy-wide demonstration of their own. On the same day, at the same hour, hybrid children across dozens of worlds performed acts of service. They repaired critical infrastructure their communities needed. They solved problems that had stumped local experts. They helped their neighbors, healed the sick with enhanced medical abilities, created art that bridged cultural divides. They showed entire communities what hybrid abilities could contribute rather than threaten. A girl named Yunji on Meridian Station used her enhanced mathematical abilities to solve a navigation error that had threatened to crash a passenger transport. 200 lives saved by a 13-year-old hybrid whose execution had been scheduled for the previous week. A boy named Jinwoo on New Busan Colony combined Viridian agricultural knowledge with human adaptability to develop a crop variant that could grow in previously barren soil. His work had the potential to feed millions across multiple worlds. The demonstrations were impossible to ignore because they happened everywhere at once. The hybrid children were not hiding anymore. They were showing themselves as assets to their communities, as solutions to problems, as bridges between species rather than threats to purity. The political pressure became overwhelming. On human worlds, governors began issuing statements protecting hybrid families within their jurisdictions, defying federal military orders. On Viridian worlds, younger council members started publicly questioning the elimination doctrine, risking their positions to call for research instead of murder. 5 months after the broadcast, both governments agreed to a joint summit, not to coordinate elimination operations, but to discuss the legal status of hybrid individuals and families. The location chosen was neutral ground, a space station maintained by independent traders. Queen Nala was invited to attend, not as a ruling monarch but as the most publicly visible advocate for hybrid rights. She arrived with Arya, Taeyang, and their 3 children, understanding that their family had become symbols of something larger than themselves. The negotiations took weeks. Hardliners on both sides fought against any recognition of hybrid legitimacy, but the evidence was impossible to dismiss, and public opinion had shifted too far to ignore. Scientists from both species presented collaborative research, showing the advantages of hybrid genetics. Military strategists argued that hybrid individuals represented valuable assets rather than threats. Economists calculated the cost of eliminating versus integrating the hybrid population. The final agreement was imperfect but revolutionary. Hybrid children born to willing parents of both species would be recognized as legal citizens with full rights in both jurisdictions. Mixed families would be protected from persecution. Research into hybrid genetics would be encouraged rather than forbidden. Existing hybrid families would receive amnesty for past violations of purity laws. The doctrine of absolute genetic purity was not eliminated. Too many people still believed in it too strongly, but it was no longer the only legal option. Choice replaced mandate. Integration became possible instead of criminal. Commander Bora was pardoned and reinstated, her refusal to follow immoral orders recognized as honorable rather than treasonous. The Viridian captain who fired on Minji was not punished, but reassigned to a position where he would not interact with hybrid populations. Both governments understood that changing hearts took longer than changing laws. Nala did not return to her throne. The Viridian High Council offered it back with conditions she refused to accept. Instead, she worked with Arya and Taeyang to establish the first official integration academy, a school where children of all species could learn together. The academy opened on New Jeju 5 years after the broadcast that changed everything. Its first class included 30 students, evenly divided between pure human, pure Viridian, and hybrid children. Hana served as a teaching assistant, helping younger students develop their abilities regardless of genetic background. Junyo worked in the engineering labs, teaching pure-blood students from both species how to think creatively and systematically. Minji, now 10 years old, led empathy training sessions that helped children from historically hostile species learn to understand each other emotionally. Taeyang directed the academic programs, his research into hybrid development becoming the foundation for educational methods that worked for all genetic backgrounds. Arya managed diplomatic relations, serving as a bridge between species who were slowly learning to cooperate. Nala taught history and philosophy, helping students understand how their society had changed and why that change was necessary. The academy's success inspired others. Within 3 years, integration schools opened on 12 different worlds. Within 5 years, that number reached 40. The children educated in these schools grew up seeing genetic diversity as natural rather than threatening. They formed friendships across species lines. Some, inevitably, formed romantic relationships that produced more hybrid children. The change was not universal or instant. Many worlds maintained pure populations and traditional doctrines. Hardliners on both sides still preached separation and purity. Violence occasionally erupted against mixed families. Progress was slow, uneven, and sometimes painful. But it was progress. The impossible children continued to exist, continued to thrive, continued to demonstrate that hybrid vigor was real and valuable. Each generation of hybrids produced more evidence that genetic diversity created strength rather than weakness. On the 10th anniversary of the broadcast, Nala stood before a gathering at the Integration Academy. Students, parents, researchers, and diplomats from across the galaxy attended, celebrating a decade of change. The event was broadcast across the same networks that had carried the original desperate demonstration. Nala looked out at the audience, seeing pure humans sitting beside pure Viridians, seeing hybrid families who no longer needed to hide, seeing children of mixed heritage who would grow up without the fear their parents had known. 10 years ago, she said, I was a queen who believed in absolute truths. I believed in genetic purity. I believed in species superiority. I believed in the necessity of separation. Then I met my grandchildren, and every belief I held crumbled against the simple reality of their